assumption that I'm still audible. And please, if at any point in time you can't hear me or I'm breaking badly, please just let me know. Yeah, my name is Miriam Afolabi. Hello, everyone. I'm going to be the lead of opposition for this round. If you have a PI, just submit and ask. I won't be staring at the chat space. So if you type PI, I won't see it. Yeah, I think that's it. Okay, so I'll be starting my speech in 3, 2, 1. So panel, for all our benefits, I'm going to be repeating the motion. This house prepares a world where all humans became transhuman. Now, this motion, for the fact of its wording, asks a few questions. For example, what sort of world creates better utility for the humans? Is it a world where they are transhuman or a world where they are not? Especially engaging the context of all humans becoming transhuman. But it also raises the question of how human a person is after being transhuman. So does the fact that they have some chip or the fact they've been integrated with machinery, does it still make them human, or have they become something else like cyborgs, or they but let's go into some of the most important things we got from OG. Now, OG talk about a word that is faster and more efficient than status quo is, because they say by their characterization that humans are weak or not as strong as AI. They tire, they don't think as fast. So their word is better because people can actually reason faster, can actually carry out activities faster. But you see the problem with their word, and this is the basis to necessity. When it comes to this debate, we feel on our side of it that there is no necessity for all humans to become transhuman, given that status quo has already proven that at the end of the day, a level of mechanization, a level of technological advance has already made work easier for humans. Meaning, when we have to do with muscle and stuff like that, we have machinery that makes our work easier. We have automated AI, we have automated machines that can carry out tasks assembling or coupling things together, which means we don't need this particular advance in technology as much as OG paints it. Hence, on necessity, I don't think that OG is going to be very in that regard. But another thing we need to understand is about how, by virtue of how this advance in technology is couched, it means that you open room for more compromisation. Meaning that at the end of the day, the basis to this means that means one. All right, quickly.
You're very much contradicting yourself, because you say people transition to AI when it became necessary. That automatically means that transhuman is existing. I think people will most likely transition to it because they also want to make their life better.
So okay, yeah, I'm sure I did not say that, so it means you weren't listening. I said on necessity, we don't need this advance in technology because in status quo we have machines that can do these particular jobs faster for us. We have AI to help us get our work done. So we don't need to integrate with AI. We don't need to integrate with machine. I think that's the simple way to put it. Now, based on what I was saying, a bit of context here. For all humans to become transhuman, it then means that there has to be a concerted effort by government to make everyone transhuman, or a world ideology that ensures that, meaning that institutions will be set up to maintain that, because basis is to prefer a world where all humans become transhuman, meaning that there are going to be institutions to ensure that that sort of thing happens, which means that at the end of the day, we feel there are going to be motivations to override the system. At the end of the day, we feel that capitalism and the motivations of governments might come into play. Hence, at the end of the day, we have a bit of hacking that we have to be wary of. Meaning that most people are going to have the motivation to want to hack or override these particular systems. And this is problematic because at the end of the day, the scale of damage is larger. So even if we have hacking in status quo, it's not going to be as bad as how it's going to be when all humans become transhuman. Because at the end of the day, all humans are led, or all humans are integrated with robots or robotics, and necessarily all of these things can respond to programs. And since it is a program thing, it can actually have a wide scale effect. Hence, at the end of the day, we don't have a word that fosters things like agency, right? We don't have a word where the choices of people are taken into consideration, because at the end of the day, you can actually hack the chip that sort of supplies them with information or enhances their thinking processes, which means you're going to have an overarching influence on the way this person thinks, or the way they rationalize, or their thought process, if you have the motivation to do so. And what we tell you is that people will have the motivation to do so, because to have such power over a lot of people is intoxicating, in simple terms. So to the extent where people are going to have motivation to do so, governments who might want to like ensure that they can control their citizens, or capitalists who might want to ensure that they have like a say in what people think and sort of like purchasing decisions they make, definitely we feel that hacking is something we should legitimately be afraid of at the point where all humans become transhuman. Note, all humans, meaning that at the end of the day, the scale of like damage is going to be very large. Another thing we need to understand is about how at the end of the day, there's like a moral hazard in like a world where all humans are transhuman. Meaning that apart from the fact that we have like issues with like how people can actually be affected through hacking, or like the motivations of like unscrupulous individuals, we feel like we can always fear a world that is ruled by technocrats or capitalistic exploitation in that regard. Also, like it is important for us to note that unlike moral hazards, right, we feel that at the end of the day, most people within this sort of instance, they say on the like off chance that we don't have like people struggling with like having to like work hard, or like think faster, right? Because they know that there's a means of like ensuring that they're integrated with like robotics that allows their um capacities to be more improved. It means then that we're going to have indolence on our hands, meaning you're going to probably have people who don't want to exercise or like go to the gym or like work as hard because they know that like they have this particular chip that can ensure that they achieve all of these particular things. I know why this is bad. It is bad because at the end of the day, this particular action that we take, studying, like working hard, going to the gym, these are things that build us not just emotionally, but physically as people. So even if you're able to like get the advantage of like having like muscles that are buffed up by AI, or like any sort of machinery, or you have like knowledge that sort of like gives you like this undue advantage that you won't have had. We feel that the essential process that takes you to that particular point, like in our status quo, where we don't have to like integrate with AI, is something that is quite important for us to understand, because these are things that build you up. So at the end of the day, you don't go to school because you just want to like pass and get the degree, right? The fact that you're able to like put in that much amount of time and energy means that at least you're able to like become more patient. You're going to be someone that is more analytic, or you're going to become a better critical thinker, or you're going to be someone that like respects the value of hard work and rigor. So at the end of the day, like that is a moral hazard in itself, because at the end of the day, it's sort of like it rules humanity, and the processes that ensure that humans are able to like develop and become like better versions of themselves. Apart from like all of the other like harms I like mentioned earlier, and with that we are proud to oppose.
Chair, I just want to confirm your credibility before I.
All right. Thanks to the leader of opposition for the fine speak. Now, I'd like to invite the DPM to conclude the case for OJ here. You're audible.
All right, thank you. I think I'll just take a few seconds to organize my notes and probably set up my timer. Oh yeah. I think, I don't know. In case I don't break, I think I'll just love to give a shout out to my partner, because it was really nice. I almost on the third round, but because she came, here I am with the chances of breaking. But in case we don't, it was really a good ride, anyways. Secondly, I think gender preferences, him doesn't really matter. PI preferences, I think I'll just take it verbally. Probably if I reach my 4th minute, I'll just keep quiet, and then I think I'll take engagement, but preferably from closing position so that we have this long diagonal engagement. Right, so since I'm done with that, I'm probably going to be here in the field. Right. Starting this debate in 3, 2, 1, go. So, Chair, the reason why opening opposition is already not in this debate is because they fail to engage the counterfactual. Panel understand that this house prefers a world where all humans become transhuman. It necessarily means we need to show that there are harms that are exclusive to our world, but then there are harms that are exclusive to their world. Opening opposition presents utility aspects. First, they present you the aspect of necessity. Secondly, they tell you the idea of opening up for more compromisation, but then thirdly, they argue for moral hazard. First, we think we want to engage on the idea of moral hazard. We don't think this benefit is actually exclusive to their world at the end of the day, because panel understand that transhuman or not, laws still exist within society to basically govern the actions of people that necessarily get to determine whether they're good or whether they're bad. So we think the moral imperative still exists. But then secondly, understand panel that morals would still exist anyways, right? We think there's still value in being kind to each other. We think there's still value in hard work and stuff like that. Because these aspects are still able to actually exist within this particular world, then we don't think that the idea of moral imperative could actually be used to decide which world is actually better than the other. That means opening opposition's cases out of tonight's debate. But the last thing they come and argue for in tonight's debate is respecting the value of hard work. And we think this is actually contention. Second thing they provide to tonight's debate is understanding the value of necessity. First panel, understand that we don't need to prove equality because this is a prefers motion. We simply need to prove that our world is better than theirs. But secondly, even if you buy the idea of necessity, understand that the existence of technological advancement in and of itself shows that there is that intention for human race to actually transcend their physical limitations at the end of the day. By the mere fact that this imperative exists, it necessarily means there is a necessity for us to basically enhance our personal abilities. What AI will not do for you, or what the current technological advancement does not do to you, it does not enhance your personal capabilities. It does not make you faster. It does not make you think better. That necessarily means this is still something that is exclusive. And this is something that exists on our side of the debate because we are able to integrate with the machines and we are able to think better and actually work better and stuff like that. That necessarily means the case of necessity is also up to tonight's debate. The last thing they argue for in tonight's debate is on the idea of opening up for more compromisation. They tell you that people are going to overhack systems and stuff like that. We don't think this is true because cannot be a major point of contention of winning this debate. I'll take CEO in my fourth minute. I'm still in my second minute. First, we don't think that hacking can be a point of contention in tonight's debate because panel understand that in this particular world, everyone would be actually integrated with machines. That's why the motion says all humans. But not necessarily also means that we actually also get to benefit from the principle of mutually assured destruction because, if you hack me, I can also hack you. And things happen like that at the end of the day. But even if the extent of their case is to argue the idea of being able to actually deprive someone of some sort of agency, right? We think this equally exists on that side of the world because panel understand that even in status quo, there's some sort of indoctrination. We teach our children every day to actually believe what they do believe. But then secondly, even if the concept power to actually influence conversation to make sure that you actually believe what they want you to believe. So panel, if the idea of agency is what you want to grant the win to opposition in, then note that this is a counterfactual debate and this harm also equally exists on their side of the debate. And this is why you cannot credit the win to opening opposition. Before I proceed to my extension.
Okay. Why does the social contract theory exist? What's the philosophy behind it?
All right. We think the social contract theory basically exists so that the state is able to protect the people that are vulnerable and the people who are going to exist within their systems. But this then doesn't mean you actually violate the social contract in tonight's debate because the state and citizens still exist. The only difference is everyone is now transhuman. And we think this also actually benefits the social contract more because people have the agency to do whatever they want at the end of the day. Proceeding to my extension panel, understand that this is a pure counterfactual debate where the side that wins has to justify that utility is best maximized from their side of the debate. But before that panel, understand that there is a need to paint what an ideal world necessarily looks like. First, we think that an ideal world is a world where people are able to maximize their individual preferences, right? That means they're able to thrive in society, they're able to do work beyond their limitations, but then thirdly, they're able to be maximally productive. But second panel, understand that even if it looks completely like a utopian concept, we prefer a world where people have the ability to self-limitations like their inability to perform. That will get from my speech. First, level of urgency that you get from our world at the end of the day in a world where people are transhuman. Notice that the existence in status quo is the fact that human existence comes with a lot of limitations. You can't run fast enough, you can't work for long enough, there's a point in which you grow old. I'm not taking any pure eyes. There's a point in time where you grow old and you're not able to actually do certain things. But don't understand why we know that humans don't want this is because of the constant intention to access artificial measures to basically break out of these physical limitations at the end of the day. People use enhancement drug often. People use doses of Adderall to boost their concentration and stuff like that. That necessarily shows that people have the incentive to basically break free of their physical limitations. On our counterfactual, then, you give people the ability to break free from their physical limitations. They can do more and be able to access their agency because they can now run faster, they can do a lot more work and stuff like that. Even if the push from opposition would be that people are best able to access agency through their vulnerability, we tell you that having simply the idea of being able to do more simply means that it actually outweighs any sort of celebrating vulnerability and stuff like that. The second extension then is on the idea that this world doesn't this world has arbitrary marginalization of certain individuals. People understand that because of the birth lottery, some people are born with inability to actually access certain talents. But then secondly, some people are naturally bright and some people are not naturally bright. At worst, some people are even born with disabilities. That necessarily means you're naturally disadvantaged in terms of being able to thrive in a capitalistic society that greatly demands you to be productive. On our counterfactual, then, everyone is transhuman. That means you correct the arbitrary nature of the birth lottery, right? That means you're no longer constrained by lack of talent or brains at birth. But this, secondly, also means people have the ability to be able to access the benefit of intensive world. In my last 15 seconds, then, finally, think that on utility, status quo shows that you actually try to do a lot of things to actually be productive and also basically set a pace for your next generation. On our world, you're able to transcend these limitations because you're able to. What, OG?
Okay, I want to thank the DBM for the fine speech. Now, let me invite DLO to conclude the case for Upper House. Here.
Please confirm audibility, Chair.
Yes, you are audible.
Thank you very much. I'm going to begin my speech. Paradise POIs from CG. So CG, please ask POI for engagement. Okay. All right. So I'll begin my speech in 3, 2, 1. So the biggest burden in this debate on side opposition is to prove why inherently there's no particular benefit that outweighs the harms that come from transhumanism in that particular regard. A partner tells you that one, the harms of transhumanism in itself outweighs the particular benefit that they get from transhumanism, especially when there are alternatives to this particular benefit that opening government have been hammering on from the beginning of the speech in itself. But let's take them at their best, engage their case, and still show you why they necessarily are not going to rank over us, right? One, they tell you that one, actions of human beings are governed already. So to that extent, it is good to abdicate all agency and give it to a couple number of persons within that sort of instance. Engagement. At the point where we understand that society in itself is built on like disparity in that regard, which means that one, we have different classes of individuals within society that can afford things based on their like economic prowess in that particular regard. Which means that one, the availability of transhumanism is only going to be dependent on which you can afford and which one you cannot. Which means that technology in status quo is only sold on the basis of what it can and cannot do. Which means that the poor person within society are only going to afford only those ones that does not like create a lot of security with its framework. But then secondly, only those ones that allows them the opportunity to afford within that sort of instance. Which means that that's like the disparity within society is not going to be eroded when we become transhuman in ourselves. This strengthens my partner case because my partner tells you that one, you limit the people their ability to activate their agency when they become transhuman in that regard. Because when you implant computer chips into like brains, it necessarily means that the brain is integrated with that chip and does everything as stipulated by that chip in and of itself. Why that is harmful is because one, there's particularly a group of persons that are going to hijack how with activities around them and how they respond by necessarily programming them to behave accordingly or particularly based on their own in that particular regard. Within that army and itself at work that opening government talks about, what are those benefits? They say, oh, we think human beings can go beyond and above and do things that they always want to do. We don't think the things that human beings always want to do is know everything or think faster than like the best computer in that particular regard. Even if that's the best case, that is what humans want. Within my partner already established that we get all of these benefits from utilizing machine independently, which means I can get like my machine without having to integrate with that particular machine of itself. If I have to work and honestly not get tired, I can get my machine without having to do it myself. That particular like allows us to then enjoy particular benefit of being human, enjoy like that particular benefit that OG talks about when they say, oh, let's transhuman in that particular regard. We think transhumanism only allows like a lot of puppets to a particular group of persons that can utilize the particular like agency and take like ability of human beings to make choices in this particular instance. But then let's engage what humans really want. This is something that OG refused to talk about in that particular like the debate episode. Over time, the basis for what human want has always surrounded things like validation, emotions like love, emotions like warmth, and emotion like respect within like status quo, right? Within that one, at a point where these are the things that human want and is built around ideologies like empathy and say, for example, need, and it becomes detrimental to then assume that the best thing that a human is going to want to opt into is makes himself a machine that works from like dawn till dusk, necessarily without any like incentive to want to do so within that sort of instance. I already show you why we can go this particular benefit utilizing like technology without having to integrate with those technology that you got. Which necessarily means that one, at the point where we do not have to integrate with this technology, why would I trade off my ability to like necessarily become ignorant and enjoy those particular like human emotions that make feel safe, my ability to like, as opposed to opt machine and become a robot in that particular regard. We think those emotions are eradicated because at the point where we become the smartest people, we think probably we know better than every other person around us, or most probably not going to relate black guys on the basis of what empathy looks like, on the basis of what like relationship as on in that particular regard. You think you're going to make like individuals, people that are going to be centered on themselves. So self-centricity is what it becomes the norm of the day in their world. Because we cannot create a world where everyone is independent, everyone can do it all, and everyone can achieve it all. We think that the dependence that like every particular human has on each other is a basis for why we can like survive together and create a better world for ourselves. Notice that they do not create any particular benefit that inherently outweighs the harm that exists in their world. They have to justify why it is okay to necessarily allow like humans to become a place of exploration or allow humans to become a puppet for others to control within that sort of instance. Engage POI, CG.
We're not making anybody robots, we're just enhancing them.
So that is the simple thing. When you say let's enhance human, the best you're going to do is allow this human to think or to decipher things faster, to probably understand like the underlying understanding behind, for example, manipulation. They are probably, but that is a problem because a compromise chipping on of itself limits the extent for which they can achieve this in that particular regard. But then if you say we want them to become better hardworking and do better things, you did not prove in your world where you're probably going to wear them armor of steel, or where they become like iron that hopefully don't get tired or broken. As far as we still maintain the flesh that we have and the blood that runs through our vein, we are necessarily subjugated to like fatigue. We're going to get tired. We're going to get broken. At the point where we strain our like bodily strength to that extent, we're like possibly going to die within that sort of instant. Within one, the benefit that you want to utilize, the benefit is already within status quo. It's already within reach. Where one, we depend on these particular machines themselves to provide information faster, to provide the need, like every particular like necessity that we need provided within the sort of instance. If you say we need to be strong, we can create machines to do our hard labor for us, which is something we've already done. If you tell we need to remain relevant, we think the idea of relevancy is dependent on the notion that these machines themselves are subjugated to like humans' brain and the extent for which humans are being able to like code and use them in that particular regard. We think we win on two things, right? One, we show you that the net benefit that like the whole government bench want to achieve is already within it. But then the harm that exists in our like in their world is most likely going to be eroded in our world when we don't opt into transhumanism in particular instance. Yeah, proud to.
Thanks to the DLO for the fine speech. That concludes our upper house. It's time to move to closing house. At first, I would like to invite the member of government to open the case for the lower house. Here.
I'm sorry, am I audible?
Yes, you are.
All right, thank you. So, hi everyone. If you have a POI, please put it in the text space. I'm looking at it, the one that the chair is keeping the time. Just type UI and I'm going to take you. Please don't unmute yourself. It's going to distract me. All right. So I'll start my speech in 3, 2, 1. Panel, we think that current status quo is fucked up because individuals are discriminated based on factor that is outside their control. The way people perceive you in status quo is based on your intelligence, based on your beauty as a girl, or like if you are a male or if you are a female, or based on how emotional intelligence you are, how you are able to adopt in stress and all those sort of things. But notice that in current status quo, you can only improve those things, you can continue to work on those things, but there is no equal level grant for everyone because people are born with arbitrary IQ. It means that you don't even have control of the kind of metric that people are judging you by in status quo. We think that that is something that is extremely unfair. Well, let's talk about what this transhumanism generally looks like because it seems that OO do not understand. First, according to emotion, it means that there is an increase in intelligence capability of individual. It means that you don't only control the kind of thing that you learn, but you also control how fast you learn those things. That is the distinction between ordinary human being. Because you can say that, oh, you can always go to school to improve your knowledge and all those sort of things. But notice that you don't have the ability to control how fast you learn or how quick you learn and all those sort of things. It also means that you can control your physical look, you can have more muscle, you can be more beautiful and all those sort of things, you can be more attractive. We think that this is the kind of thing that you're likely going to be judged by in status quo. You don't have control over those you don't have control over those factors in current status quo, but in our world, in the counterfactual, you have control over it. But the last thing then is on how it increased psychological ability of individual. Notice that psychological ability of individual even determines things like how they relate with others in status quo. It determines things like how they are able to function under stress. It is how they are able to react to losses and all those sort of things. A lot of people don't have these things, and even if they go to therapies, they continue to fail in those instances. We think in a world where everyone is where everyone is transhuman, you can literally control your emotions, you can literally control the way you relate with issues and all those sort of things. We think that this is something that is important. At the end of the day, what it does is that it gives you control over those things that matters in your life because that is your perception, that is the way people feel you. We think that that is something that is good. In your work, you don't have control. We think it is unfair because it is not you who choose to be born with lower IQ, but for the rest of your life, you are likely going to be abused or called out based on something that is outside your control. We give every individual this sort of control. It means that even if you fail, we think that it is your handwork that you fail. At least it is not nature. Nature is fair to everyone. In your world, you don't have control. You can try your best, but because you are not beautiful, people are still unwilling to relate with you. Because you are not intelligent, you might go to school, try your best to read, and still fail. We think that that word is something that is unfair. But I'm going to be engaging more reporters into my speech because notice how opening opposition fails to engage the major issue that comes from opening government. Because what this guy tells you is that there is a certain trend in status quo that has to do with things like AI and other sort of things, which means that the trend is that AI is taking away people's job. It means that the ability of people to improve their knowledge in order to at least get a certain share in the current is something that is getting extremely low day by day. It means that if people don't become transhumanism, there's a certain point, a certain tipping point in status quo that the continuous reliance on automations and AI that OO talk about is going to render a lot of people homeless because they don't have the job that they are supposed to do. AI is doing it because AI is fucking better than them. We think that that is the kind of war that we don't like. But notice how we don't have control because capitalists at all time want to minimize their cost. It is very easy for me to just employ an AI to do the job of 4 people. But the moment where people become transhumanism, they can at least be able to continue doing that job. We impact this better by giving you more analysis and how that directly engages with what you get from opening opposition. Shoot your POI.
So
Okay,
very simple,
so
right?
there's a very simple question here, right? So if you have 200 IQ and I have 100 IQ and we both enhance, you have 400, I have 200. Where's your case?
The idea is simple. The reason why there is a certain consensus in status quo, like it's very difficult to see the disparity that exists within the genius. Everyone regards certain people as genius, but notice that those people do not have equal IQ. There's a certain tipping point that once you cross that threshold of what is considered as being intelligent, you are intelligent, regardless of whether you are the most intelligent individual. Like the comparative is that in your world there are certain people that are of low intelligence. In our world, everyone is intelligent. That intelligent, there is still disparity, but at least everyone is intelligent and you have control over that. We think that that is something that is comparatively better. Let's talk then about how we are able to solve emerging issue, because notice that currently in status quo there are a lot of issue things like climate change are global issues that everyone is advocating for the way to solve. The problem is it is unsure the kind of issues that are likely going to come due to things like advancement. In which world are we able to at least engage those issues better? We think in a world where we continue to rely on AI to do these things for us, like OO proposed, is what that is fucked up, because notice that AI to some extent cannot be reliable at all times. They are easier to fuck up with. Even if you claim that, oh, human being can be hacked, we think it is much more difficult to hack human being, even if we integrate into machine, and it is to hack AI. We think I'm no more taking PR. We think at a world where human beings at least are able to increase their knowledge, it means that our ability to coagulate together and solve this issue is one that is comparatively better. Because notice in status quo, there are certain individuals that people don't value their idea because they are of low intelligence. It means that in our world where people are at least able to increase their intelligence, they are able to contribute meaningfully, and at the end of the day, makes it better for us to solve those issues. Notice that what we prove is the discrimination that exists in status quo, going to the fact that you don't have control over those things that is used as yardstick of who you are in life. The way people perceive you, the value that you have, is based on how you look, your intelligence, and all those sort of things that we enhance in our world. In your world, you don't have control over those things, and people continually see you and discriminate against you based on this factor. You have control over those factors in our own world. You are able to at least significantly increase it. You are able to enhance it. People no longer look you as just one dude that doesn't have it. We think that that is something that is crucial. The last thing then is on the impact on minority. Notice how minority, especially in status quo, things like Black American, things like African, for instance, has continually been disenfranchised when it comes to things like innovation because of the concentration of talent in places like the West. In our world, we are able to at least, randomly distributed this talent and ultimately bring more innovations in minority community. My partner will extend further on that. For that very reasons, proudly CG.
Okay, I would like to thank the member of government for the fine speech. Now I'd like to invite the member of opposition to open the case for CO. Here.
Hi, can you hear me?
Yes, I can.
All right. If you have a POI, unmute and ask. Other than that, I'm gonna start my speech in 3, 2, 1. Bentham put forward that the masters of human beings are pain and pleasure. If that is true, when you have each and every human become transhuman, there's going to be a maximization of pleasure over pain. That's problematic. The fact that you leave out pain and try to expand those limitations that we have and break them is harmful in and of itself. And I'm going to give you structural reasons as to why this is true. But there are two paths to victory for us. One, I'm going to explain to you an analytical extension coming out from OO and just give you better mechanisms and impact it, because I don't think OO does this. And then I'm going to give you a different extension. But first, deal with CG. CG claims that, we get intelligent, and even OG. I think even if this is true, intelligence is only a means to an end. So even if you're the most intelligent person, how you put that in, what you put that intelligence to is what gives it value. So even if CG and OG are right, CG and OG needed characterization as to why individuals are more likely to do good things when they get that level of intelligence. I don't think there's any characterization coming out from any of the benches to explain why individuals are more prone to do good things, because explaining why we get more intelligent in and of itself is not enough. You need to give us the impact of what that intelligence particularly means. Because even on our side, people can get intelligent. I think you had people like Newton, all these other individuals who are like really, really intelligent and they didn't need AI, people like Elon Musk and stuff like that. I think that like surfacely deals with CG and OG, and like Henry will engage the rest. But now our first extension is on why this gets weaponized in and of itself. Now, OO claims that individuals will hack these things and they will do all these things. Even if that is true, I think it is symmetric. Bad people do exist on either sides. So see, OO needed to explain to you why that is important and why like that hacking is something which we ought to care a lot about. But I think the idea is symmetric. The explanation you get from us is why this is more likely to be weaponized, not by governments, as OO also says, but more by private corporations and MNCs. What are MNCs and private corporations? These are corporations who want to maximize profit, who CG said are good people. The problem with these people is that they want to have control and like they want to determine the agency and necessity of individuals. Why is this true? They curate ads specifically to you. When you're signing up, they ask for your data. They ask for your permission to like use your data and give it to other companies and stuff like that. This implies that there is a constant push from MNCs and all these big companies to control your data and shape your specific needs. The problem is, if everyone has a Neuralink in their head, you give corporations a lot of power to curate the type of needs individuals want. You give corporations the power to determine who ends up being elected. Because if Tesla can control and shape people's narratives to believe that Donald Trump is the best leader, everyone will vote Donald Trump. We think that's much worse, and that's how it can be weaponized. You have to believe this argument. Why? Corporations today already try to do these things, even with the limited information they have. That is to say, at the point at which you make us transhuman, and I think this is true because the people who push most of this transhuman stuff are MNCs, are private corporations, are Tesla, putting the Neuralink and all these things, SpaceX and stuff like that. So it's the private entities that will front this specific thing in the in the world of side government. So it is true that you're bound to have this weaponized. What is the impact? One, you create a hegemony over this, you create a hegemony and give a lot of power to these MNCs and these big companies. Why is that bad? We can't simply hold them accountable because we can hold the government accountable, but we can't hold these corporations accountable because they have a lot of power in this moment. And where they determine our preferences, we still can't hold them accountable because we lack that agency in that specific world to hold them accountable because they could simply paint themselves to be good to us. We think we win on that as we interact with. But the second, like kind of novel extension is that one, we think that the limitations in and of itself are good. We think that said government trying to break those limitations is a bad thing. A couple of reasons why this is true. I think one, the limitations in and of themselves make us creative. So the fact that you can't read books at a high speed makes you creative to create AI, which helps you summarize the books that you have. The fact that one, you cherish your experiences, know that those experiences are once in a lifetime. So because you know that all of us are going to die, you cherish the experiences you have with individuals at that particular time. The problem is that because you can recreate those images in a meta universe, you're unlikely to find them more fulfilling in the moment that you have those individuals, which is a bad thing. But the second thing is that I think you get more fulfillment with interactions with individuals, whatever on our side. On the comparison, on side government, when you're transhuman and you have all these exceptional things, you don't really get fulfillment. Why? Because there's no limitation you have. There's nothing like you can simply recreate these memories, you can simply access them at any single time. The problem is on our side, you give more meaning to those specific things. Interactions become complementary. We think that's much better. What's the impact? I think the impact is simple. Developing one's identity on our side is much stronger. Why? On side government, you ignore the pains and focus on the pleasures, which means your identity is only a sum of the things that you believe are good. Look at the movie Inside Out. When the person, I think the character who was responsible for the happiness realized that whenever they would check out the bad behaviors of this girl, it didn't make her who she was. That analysis is the same thing here in Inside Out. On side government, you will push the bad and the limitations to the side. The problem is that those limitations fill up your identity and make you the holistic individual you are. On their side, we'll have more individuals with depression, because whenever you get whenever you get treatment, you don't take into account the bad things that you have done, because you're trying to constantly escape the bad things and the limitations. We think our side is much better, because when you have those problems, with maybe your loved one, maybe when your loved one passes by, all those things form your identity. There's an amalgamation of things, of the bad and the good. On side government, you ignore the bad. Why? The bad is a limitation. On our side, that limitation creates your identity, a more holistic identity. I think on our side, we have better individuals who have stronger identities which can't easily be broken. On side government, that identity is lost, especially for people who are minority groups. Peak CO.
All right, I would like to thank the member of opposition for the fine speech. Now I'd like to invite the government whip to conclude the case for the whole government. Just here.
Assuming I'm audible, prioritize POI is my 6
Yes, you are.
minutes. Yeah, thank you, Chair. I prioritize POI is in my 5 minutes. Please do not badger, and wait, my phone is trying to get my timer. So I'm currently checking the chat space where let me see. Whereas Matt wrote POI00, so that is where I'm looking. When you have a POI, again, do not budget into my speech. In case you also don't break, be dedicated to my partner, because I'm always forcing him to debate in tournaments for growth and improvement. And I'm glad you always agree, sir. Starting in 3, 2, 1. With the evolution of bicycle came people saying we are no longer going to ride horse. With the evolution of cars, people say we're no longer going to ride bicycle. The evolution came like that, and people were able to integrate. There was no discussion around, oh, we need people to walk more, or we need people to do this more, given there were always alternatives such as saying we can go to the gym or exercise or all those sort of things. But the core idea of whatever technology does is to solve a problem and not to cause more harm of it. So presently, we are using phone to most likely do things like debate, because they realize that making country debaters from different side of the country come together might be costly. And there comes the evolution of technology that says there's Discord where you can have rooms of tournaments at your disposal. Nobody is saying, oh, it limits creativity or it limits the ability for still debaters to connect. On a comparative world, I think that is way better. I think there are three problems of closing opposition. But to summarize it in one sentence, they don't have a counterfactual and they run away from it. And that is their major burden. And I try to hear it from opening opposition. Their impact wasn't uniquely mutually exclusive or consistent with their case. So what do you get from my partner that makes us unique? First off, I think number one is how having control over your emotions and every single thing is way better off comparatively on their word. I mean, this is a much more prepared emotion. So even if they want to claim, oh, it's not necessary, I think it's very much important or much more way better, comparatively better on our word in terms of how individuals can make irrational decisions, all those sort of things at certain times. I think integration of transformers most likely. I said in chat. The second thing is how intelligence is highly sorted after within the school. I think the major or unique impacts you get from that is saying you have global issues that need to be solved. So climate change is getting worse off day by day. There's still people dying of cancer day by day. There are huge problems that need to be solved. Then we've seen also that people opposition says, oh, we have smart people dying of cancer, HIV every single day, and people dying of extreme flooding. We've not been able to find problems to that. They this most likely magically exist, but most likely yes, when people have already died. I think the things like AI most all the time. So which makes it very likely integrated. It's most likely less corporate better because it's literally in the of reporters. What do you get from closing opposition? Closing opposition says number one, they said, oh, what is the result of more intelligence? Because it's more going to make more people, lazy or sort of thing. The unique impact to give for my partner is on minorities. And so this is you never get from people. When you talk about impact on minorities, right? I think to understand the grassroots level, before I can get asked as a fellow Nigerian, it means I have to be from a middle class or a high That means I might not be able to have an average smart. I might not be able to access because of the type of education I'm able to access as a lower class person, because my parents are able to have ability to interact with the real world is lessened because I'm not able to access it, and that means I'm most likely not going to be able to be too smart. So the rich keep getting richer, they keep getting access to this beautiful information, they keep getting access to innovation and technology has evolved, getting way behind. The unique people are not able to access it because everybody is now transitioning. And as a woman, you're not looking down on me because of my gender or my color or my religion. You know I'm a transhuman. I'm most likely intelligent. Worst case, where I don't have world in which any chair or any team will most likely prioritize. I think the second thing is humans are going to be exploited. I think this is very more similar to cyber threat case that came from opening opposition. Limits that. I think number one is that sufficient, most likely, state have action that is most likely will be in place for this. So, phone came. People didn't just sit down and say, "Oh, let's see the harm that phone will do." There was ready VPN verification processes that make sure that before you have access to people's information, all these other things most likely exist. And not just that, also individuals' ability to self-protect. Knowing that I have this transhuman and everyone has this transhuman, is automatically means individuals have the incentive to find ways to not be attacked. So the same thing came with the evolution of things like drugs. Before the advent of technology, sickness, there are leaves or drugs like proteins that can easily access. They are always looking for individuals or ways to most likely protect themselves from harm and all those sort of things. We became with living with fucking lions at the point of working to self-protect. So there's most likely incentive for humans to do that. I think the last thing I is the idea of creativity. I don't think that's mutually exclusive because you already claim on in your word, you already so some people are still going to waste another. So I don't see how creativity would be a problem given there is an incentive to develop. And in a world where we most likely have most likely engaging. What is your POI? Make it fast and sharp.
So very simple. Every stereotype in itself is not stereotype has actions, race.
You're breaking up. You're breaking up. Just picture probably before my statement. I think to engage opening opposition, opening opposition just your statement. Number one, it is not necessary. I already engaged the idea of hacking, but then they talked about the idea of agency. I think when they talk about necessity, that can be the case because they never show up a counterfactual of the word where it is not necessary. So if you are telling me that this is not necessary, you have a thought of a very beautiful counterfactual word where people will most likely be able to engage and be more efficient in that word. They never showed us. I think the second thing is they don't show why can't be the case. I mean, people's transition for evolution of technology at every single time they needed to show a proper counterfactual. The last thing is on what we go from opening opposition is on the idea of agency. Like the idea is nobody said it's going to be coercing people. We're just preferring a word where people transfer. They literally, they enhance this thing or they have it in their body. Nobody's saying we're going to force it on people or denying any sort of agency. He's saying a whole word where people most likely do this at the end of the day. I think the last thing is to clearly distinguish yourself from opening governments. Opening government says it's cheating. Opening government says, hey, there's the ability to be more productive and there's independence of human beings. But when it came to the impact side, you guys can't just say people need to be more productive because you're most likely putting them at the helm of capitalists or at the helm of saying, oh, you guys will most likely be used to this and our end. Our unique opportunity or our unique impact in our world to say minorities even have the opportunity to also be at this forefront and also compete at high level and most likely be employed in countries like Google or Microsoft and being able to compete at that job market. That is the world that OG never showed you and we prove now what. I think the last thing on way up, in terms of bench comparison, it shows how our impact goes a lot more than just ordinary people, but even to the minority of the minority. The last thing on way up in terms of long that I go now, I think we show how vulnerability can be a huge problem giving individuals incentive to self-protect and also social contact that exists within the status quo. I think also that I will now we show how countries way more better on our world, given these probably chaos and things that most likely existing currently in the world. Very hard to come from prison government.
Okay, thanks a lot to government whip for that fine speech. Now I can invite the opposition whip to conclude the case for the whole house here.
Oh. Oh.
Can you say that again?
Am I audible?
Yes, now you're audible.
Okay. Wait, Judge, is it 7 minutes, 15 seconds, or 7 minutes? I think
It is
I
actually
think
7 minutes,
it
15
should be.
seconds. Like you can take the 50-second extra if you need.
Okay, cool. I'll just okay. That 15 seconds will be to sum up. Like I get it. Thanks. If you have a POI,
Uh,
just drop in
I
chat.
did not actually put
I
a,
will.
I did not put a 15 seconds because like the issue of productive time should not be mixed up.
Oh yeah. I get it. I understand that. I understand that. Thank you so much. Uh, okay. Yeah, if you have a POI, just drop in chat. I'll be able to take you in a bit. Let me just get this motion because I think it's so necessary that this motion is made clear. Okay, so I think let's start this debate in 3, 2, 1, go. Right? So this debate is about integration of machines and such as brain implants. So there are very many examples to transhumanism. You can have a robotic arm, you can have robotic legs, all that is transhumanism, right? I think there are a few basic concepts that people have watched in movies. When you have like robotic legs, you've watched Cyborg from Justice League. I think all these things are already supposed to compute what transhumanism may be able to to like comprehend. I think there are very important pieces of clarity that need to exist in this debate for adjudication to be proper. I think the first thing is closing government has the underlying assumption that when you're transhuman, you are God. You're all knowing, you're omnipotent, you can't be beaten, you can't be hurt. There's a very big problem with that premise, right? Because guys, and this is why it's laughable, is that all the benefits they tell you about, oh, you don't need therapy, you don't need psychological help when you have been enhanced, you don't need to generally like depend on anyone, you're generally independent, you have your own intelligence. And this is why it gets worse, is that they say you now don't have discrimination at all because everybody is equal. I'm going to respond to this with two important pieces of clarity. First thing is that regardless of being enhanced as a transhuman, even if this is a prefers world motion, there is no one from government that mechanizes, while for the most part, individuals inherently are going to be free from the external circumstances. So even if you are in a world where you're transhuman, systems are still shitty. Probably the education system is still bothering you. Probably you still have state that is embezzling money. Probably you still have state that is still struggling to give you a few things in this world, right? You still have a lot of factors that hinder you from achieving most of those things. The second thing, despite the fact that you have been enhanced, it doesn't mean you are now a global encyclopedia, you are Superman, and you are, for some reason, all knowing and emotional IQ is at its maximum. It simply means that you still need to go for rehab. Yes, you now understand psychological processes better than you occasionally do, but there are things that are going to be above you that require you to go to rehabilitation. What's the implication? Every impact they give you on perfection is tied on perfectionism. Something, and for these impacts to exist, they needed to mechanize why perfectionism exists. They don't mechanize that, so they don't prove perfectionism exists. The implication of this way of this whipping is very simple on their case, is that all the impacts you get are first of all either assumptuous or not proven. It simply means their case has no impact. By basic understanding means the case has no value, because even if you try to mechanize, you don't show how the impacts become actualized. Everything is just over exaggerated. But then the last thing on clarity is this to engage CG, is that we ask a POI. I'm going to like make it simple so that even CG can understand this. The aspect of you eradicate segregation, which is the biggest concept and the biggest outcome you get from their debate. James calls them out on process. They still consistently take on the same problem in whip speech. When you have IQ 200 and you have IQ 100, it simply means that whenever you have enhancement, someone still has a higher IQ. I have 400, the other lad has 200. It simply means then, in their world, on a comparative, that you still have discrimination because some individuals see you as less intelligent, see you as different from them because you don't do things at the same pace they do, you don't process things at the same pace they do. I said don't unmute. You don't express at the same things they do, you don't process things, the best physical attributes. There are people still stronger than you because if someone has been carrying 10 tons and you've been carrying only 5, enhancement means they carry 30, you carry 15. It simply means that discrimination still exists comparatively on that side. And I think that's why OG still beats them, because at least those guys believe that you still have a level of like disparity between your strengths. Again, on implication, how it hinders their case is that it nullifies all the impacts they give you, but it shows the gross characterization these guys have of the motion. It simply means that discrimination still exists as an active harm. Why is this so important to show you why we take down their case? It's the thing that they have been benching on to show you, and it's the biggest benefit they have been pushing for
Go
this
ahead.
debate, for them to win. I have just successfully shown you how you don't achieve that benefit in that regard. I'm going to take CG in a bit, but first wait. Okay, before I move to OG, sure.
You still don't have any solvency in your word at the end of the day because you're counterfactual. You still haven't shown.
Here's another problem. The problem with why we such teams in top rooms is that they don't read the manual. This is a very basic understanding. It's a fucking prefers a world motion. The motion says, and it's very clear, I prefer a world where all humans are transhuman. The counterfactual I have to defend by requirement of the manual is status quo. All comparatives James gives you and OO give you are relating to status quo. This is a top room where the judge already knows this, so we don't need to flag it so that it can be understood. If you don't understand, that's your problem. At least the judge gets it. Let's move on to the next important thing in the round, right? Which I think is comparatively important: the engagement to opening government. Opening government asserts that there's going to have more productivity. Here's the thing. They say people are going to get a sort of independence. I think on engaging CG, I already show you why you don't most likely get that. The next thing they talk about is moral hazard, or you think faster, you become actively faster. There's a very wind shaft that happens between both cases. PM asserts that you can't be faster, DPM asserts that you can't be faster, you can't be stronger, physical attributes are enhanced. The motion already tells you these things are also enhanced. So I don't get what OG stands for in the debate if they are generally contradicting what the motion is already setting. I think CAP genuinely set the motion for a reason. They don't engage the heart of the matter. They talk about more productivity. This is the problem. And this is just taking them at their best, because their argument is that they have more numbers that are productive. The comparative is very simple. When you have more numbers on that side, remember, like I said, situations still exist. Doesn't mean that resources are now infinite. Resources still remain finite. So it simply means that on their side, you still have like a larger number of unemployed people, a larger number of redundant people who are intelligent but don't have resources to solve, because you have very many people with different worst case scenario, you still vote for CO. Here's why we beat our opening. One, their biggest argument is on the aspect of utility and how machines are going to be there. They talk about the necessity. We already proved that necessity is something that we all agree on a consensus. That can't be their argument. The next thing they bench on is the aspect of hacking. Let's make an show you why that is important. The aspect of emotions and empathy, the already frames them out. Let's move on to the aspect that James efficiently mechanize how the triponization or hacking is going to happen. So if you're going to buy the mechanization my member gives you, I think that's very goes further and takes it up a notch to show you why it's less likely government to do it, but most likely the multinational companies that already want to keep using you for productivity. Even if they don't manipulate you, the fact that they want more productive people and still pay them cheaply makes it worse. So in your world, you have people who are more productive but still aren't paid less. It's worse because these guys can now find a way to hack you and manipulate you through ads, controlling your data. If they can access your data now, what stops them from accessing the data in the near run future? Or furthermore, it doesn't create any solvency, and that word is particularly toxic. James analyzes to how you get a hegemony. This is the case that engages both gov benches, even if you accept that their cases, if you are to buy their as like cases are perfect. It's a principle. And I think, because we don't know what judges will be looking at in this debate, the winning thing in that debate is your limitations. The only reason why you're creative is because of limitations. The only reason why you treasure your experiences now is because of the constant fight to break your limits. In a world where you pursue their technology and it works at its best, where you constantly you don't have any limitations, you are enhanced. It simply means then that activity now becomes far lesser because you can easily go around problems. You are forced to then become better. Well, you don't have to read a lot of content. You don't have to now fight to go through 20 freaking tournaments for a whole year, not breaking for it. In their world, you're already good. You're already enhanced. You're already a prosper already in their world. You're already a boss, right? Because of enhancement. In our world, you're able to teach the struggles you have become. David Africa losing good DC twice. you're able to relish those moments and take them solely as yours and your own, and you own up to them, become a better person. The biggest win is the struggle and the self-actualization. Lastly, on recreation, you can recreate anything, right? On the other side, you can't recreate it. So you treasure it, that winning goal you're not able to recreate, that novel idea and extension we are bet that we may not be able to recreate. The idea that you're running now makes it so important. On the fulfillment of interactions, meaning, experience goes to meaning, and you attach meaning to those things. So if your experiences are so easy, you don't attach too much meaning to them. It means your life on a comparative, on their cases, becomes less valuable because of the pain and pleasure we give you. James wants accountability on why you get less accountability on their side. I think you have a better, stronger identity, better, stronger experiences. And for all those reasons, we win from CO. Break in top.
Okay. I would like to thank all the speakers for their fine speeches to today's debate. Thanks to all of you for participating in this tournament. It was nice to have you all. I hope all of you break for further rounds or our rounds, and best of luck for future as well. Cross shake hands to virtual and best of luck for future rounds. And thank you. Good night. See you in the break and also. Thank you, everyone. And also, if you require any kind of if you still require any kind of personal feedback, you can reach out to me after like break announcement as well. Thanks for the club anyway.